Shara, hello, and all the things. Welcome to our walkthrough, and we're going to be continuing Riven today. I am Veronica, V, also known as V, or sometimes as Blade Lacame on some of the various places that you can hang out with Mother Mist fans. I'm the developer of the Unwritten role-playing game, and I think I have a weird echo. Let's see if that works better. So if you're in chat, if you can, let me know how my sound is now, um, I'd appreciate that. Um, so the idea is here is that we'll be playing, we've been playing Riven, and I've been talking about how to use um, the Riven game as inspiration for an unwritten game or other sorts of role-playing games. Thanks, Junie. I see that you said I'm sounding good, so I appreciate the feedback. Um, And also often where I go off onto vague, various tangents on role-playing games or games and such in general. Um, you can also watch me get lost several times in Riven. So, I mean, if you like that sort of thing, yay. If not, then, I don't know, you'll be bored for a little bit. But yeah, here we are in Riven. What we've done so far is we've gotten to Gen's laboratory. Um, we have been to all the islands. We're currently here on Map Island, or however you want to call it, the island with um, the map control room and that sort of thing. Um, and we really need to start getting to the point where we can start getting the power going and that sort of thing. We haven't been to Tay yet, uh, so we'll need to get to that as well. I'll probably end up actually doing the power stuff first, then getting to Tay. You can do them in really either order, um, and we will go from there. Um, so yeah, I mean, probably should talk a little bit more about. I've done a little bit of a. We've done a little bit of a scheduling issue. The last few times we've had issues with things from life that have been conflicting with the stream, and so I made a couple small changes to the schedule of the stream, hopefully to prevent further or minimize the amount of problems. Um, the stream is now starting at 6 p.m. instead of 5:30, and it's going to be going for 2 hours instead of 3. Um, that means we'll be getting through the games a little bit slower in terms of number of streams per game, but that probably will be a little bit easier on my schedule and hopefully make things more likely to be consistent. One other thing to mention, however, is that September the 28th, there will not be a stream. That's because I'll be on vacation. We were going to attempt vacation last month. Um, and unfortunately, my lovely wife Ellery came down with appendicitis right before vacation, so we didn't have that vacation. Um, so we're going to try again this weekend. I mean, not this weekend, at the end of this month. So that means that on September 28th, there will not be a stream, but we should be back, you know, on the Tuesday streams the following week on the 5th. Uh, Between the 28th and the 5th, oh, thank you. So, and thank you for the thing about the schedule changes. That this is a perk, and this is a perk for the patronage. So, um, yeah, I mean, we've definitely started to shift a bit from the print and written content um, to the streaming content, just so that we have something on a regular basis that we can give the patrons. Um, as we work on some more of the sort of larger things in the background. That doesn't mean that there won't be any more um, written word or art or anything like that. Just that our more regular things we're trying to do these sort of streams and walkthroughs so that all our patrons have something that we can provide to them on a regular basis. And like it says up on the screen here, still figuring out things. Still figuring things out. We are still figuring things out in sort of all sections of the Patreon, and working with science on things. So hopefully we can do even more in the future. Um, I really do like Junie. I agree with you. I really do like the interactiveness of this, even if there's a little bit of a lag due to the nature of Twitch. Um, and I know I've been thinking of interspersing uh, some other games in the middle between missed games to kind of get some other perspectives on game sort of ideas and places you can find inspiration. But we'll see. Uh, these streams are very informal. Also, the reminder is that on October 2nd, Saturday, October 2nd, 1 p.m. will be our next session of the Strange Seeds Unwritten campaign. I will probably not actually be at home. I'll be doing that session from while out again, like I did in the last one. And we'll get to kind of continue to move our player characters in Strange Seeds forward. Tension's kind of building, and so hopefully we'll have a pretty interesting session for that. Okie doke. So back to this thing called Riven. Okay. Here we are. Let's go here. This should take us over to the island with the crater in the middle. The crater in the middle. I'm headed up to Gen's laboratory. When it comes to some of the things that have the as sort of did I make it to Gen's laboratory or did I make it to we'll see. No, I did it. I ended up I was pointing down the wrong way, so we're at the village here. We're at the work elevators. I've already been to the top here, and I've already been to the top here, and opened a few things up. So here we go. I've already looked at the sound ball here. That's over that way. So I'm just gonna head on up. Let's see. Do we want to go that way, or do I want to go the other way? Let's try. And our warning thing here. As for show some other things that have the vibes I like for Unwritten. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of different things out there you can draw inspiration from. Even things that might not fit Unwritten pretty directly. You can draw inspiration from the more Oh yeah, there we go. See the person up in the corner there, running back and forth. Oh, and she comes back and grabs the kid. Okay. So obviously I'm kind of headed the other direction than I said I was going to. But yeah, here once again you see that one of the coolest things about Riven is but you have the Riven water. Um, I think very often that when you're trying to come up with an age for Unwritten, um, it's often given the fact that it is unwritten and misgamed, people expect sort of weird, surreal, or unusual environments. Um, and you don't always have to give them something strange. Um, but it is pretty common. No, not 5 times. Or have I done this already? I don't remember if I did this already. I may have done it already. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, the Mist universe gives you strange things. Definitely gives the option for doing strange things that you want to do to explore. Um, Add little strange little bits, like the water here. Um, but I often will start with if I don't have a specific. I mean, even if I do have a specific sort of use for this particular um, for a particular um, no, not that. If I don't have even if I have a particular use for an age, like a story uh, beat or something I'm going to be using with that age. Um, when it comes to the actual creating the age itself, I'll often take a look at find the thing that I want um, players to remember when they think about the age. And the visual, either the visual or the experience, sort of like, Riven has this, very distinctive water, which sticks in people's mind. Um, Mechanical is this big, kind of fortress in the middle of nowhere. Um, Selenetic has all the sound stuff going on, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and I'll take that, idea and say, it would be really cool if there was X, and then try to kind of walk that back to what I'm doing with the age, or come up with some, good justification. Um, a good example of this, there's your work. A little bit of more, that's actually some more work sculpture there on the drums. Okay, this, you see that's down there. Go this way. Do, 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 do. How, now, okay, now I have to remember how to get down there. Get, like I said before, this is the one I've actually played the least of of a lot of the games, so I don't always remember all the details. No, there's not there. There's another way. Do, do, do. Let's go this way. Do, do, do. Nope, I'm backwards here. La la la. road diverged in a wood. Yeah, literally in a wood. There you go. We'll go this way. That takes me back up here. Where do I go up here and go down around the Sunners? But yeah, when it came to, like, Laundress's age in the Strange Seeds game, I only really had to start off with was the concept that it was, um, he decided he wanted the age to be an age of lots of different, diversity and such. But he hadn't done very well on his roll for making the age. He actually decided to take it at a small cost. So we made it a savage age. So I knew that it was, if I remember correctly, it was, there was, it was a serene age with secrets beneath the surface, if I remember correctly, was the theme of the age that Laundress was writing. And I said he didn't make the roll and decided he wanted to do it at a minor cost, and so I said it was going to be a savage age with secrets beneath the surface. So I decided that I really wanted the whole secrets beneath the surface to be the basic thing, and so that meant I put everything underground. And so I kind of started thinking, okay, what kind of things can I find underground? There's going to be, but it still has to be savage. So I decided that, the environment had to be kind of, constantly fighting the people who were there. How many, Judy asks, how many options do you typically keep in mind as variables based on how the rolls go? Probably only a handful, one or two or three. The basic idea for, Junie, do you mean in general or specifically on the age creation side of things? When I'm doing a roll, I kind of have a couple different variables in mind. I'm generally trying to kind of keep a good track on what's going on in the scene and that sort of thing. But I'm trying to think of it basically comes down to are they going to accomplish what they want or not? And if they're not, is there a way I can make their failure interesting? And by that I mean, not just, okay, I didn't do it, now what? Sort of thing. Because, just rolling dice and having nothing happen is kind of boring. And so I've kind of tried to think about, what might be interesting for it to happen based off the fact that they didn't get what they want. And sometimes it's very specific, in the sense that they said they wanted to do X and now they can't do it, and they can't do X and that causes Y. And sometimes it's really general in the sense that they don't get to do what they want, and essentially things start going. Something goes bad for them, whether it's entirely directly related to the thing or not. That's that can be, that's debatable. There's sort of assumption, I think, in a lot of gamers that, if you roll badly on a roll, then that means that, the bad thing had to happen exactly with what that roll was about. And I think that's a limited view. Sometimes it just means that, things are not going their way. So, yeah. So, I often don't spend as much time, like if they roll really badly. Sometimes I'll look at, like, okay, they roll really badly, that means that they failed really bad. Or if they rolled really well, that means that they did really well. The mechanics in Unwritten, that if you roll really well, there is a mechanical effect. There's the status on a roll of excelling on a roll, and it has different things. You get free boosts, you get more questions, that sort of thing. So there's a little bit more detail if they are doing doing well on a roll. But if they fail, it's just, like, I don't worry too much about, hey, they did really badly. Let's make sure that they hurt. Okay. Okay, so we've got our bird's eye view up here. We can see the various holes. Yeah, kind of like the varying perk tiers. Yeah, exactly. But once again, it's all kind of, about, what seems the most interesting. And sometimes, I'll have some vague ideas of, I have something that I kind of want to have happen, a complication or a challenge, and so I will sort of, see if those fit into the failures, a failure that's happened. Also, have you ever pulled back? Have you ever pulled back on a bad consequence when the players despair? Very, very, very rarely. It depends on the nature of the despair. If the despair is, the players are, upset in the sense of, something that has disturbed them has happened, something that's legitimately, upset them has happened. I had, walked into some place that, was, a sensitive topic for somebody. Or, they've just had the player has had a really awful day, and this has just been, the last straw, sort of thing. That's when I will pay attention to, whether they're, they despair about, oh my God, what happened? If they're just, oh, my character is going to be real messed up, then I don't tend to back off on that, because I think that there is a sort of implicit, your players are protagonists, and so they're going to have problems. And thus, the fact that things go badly for them sometimes is expected. And the fact that things go badly is a chance for them to show how awesome they are. In that, the game is about being awesome, one way or the other. And, a great way to show you're awesome is, how you react to, the challenge in front of you. And how you overcome the problem. So, the problem gives the characters a chance to be heroes. So, in those cases, I don't tend to, I just tend to roll with it. But, when there's a legitimate thing with, like, the player being upset about something, then, yeah, you'll look at things and go, oh, well, okay, well, it's not too, I've been in those situations before where, like I said, I've stepped into an area where I didn't realize was traumatic for somebody, And it's been anything from, life events to, I didn't realize so-and-so was really that afraid of spiders. It's like, okay, we'll let the let the spiders go for now, sort of thing. And then there's been one where, in a game where, you know, the player just had a really bad day, and, they'd done something that essentially was, inescapably fatal. And they were upset about it because, it was sort of, they had, they put a lot of time in the character had been playing for a while, they had a lot invested in the character, and it was just, something, another thing that blew up that day. And so, we sat down and went, okay, well, is there, what's best for, what's best for the player, what's best for you, what's best for the story, what's best for the character, and you work things out. Okay, let's see if I did this right. Aha. I did, in fact, do this right. The sort of mechanical puzzle here of figuring out, okay, I've got to go over here. That's just, I mean, people always ask, how do I do the puzzles? How do I run puzzles? I have this puzzle cool thing I want to set up. I am a bit of a wet blanket when it comes to, let's include my cool puzzle into the game. It's just so hard to do properly. Actually, I forget where this goes over here. Yeah. Okay. So actually, this little leg of things is, this is the, thing that you do after you've figured out a puzzle, so that so you can get around it. It's like, okay, I figured out how to get here and get up there, and now I come here and I put the ladder down so that, next time I want to come up here, I can just go straight up here. It's the shortcut that you've enabled because you've solved the puzzle. Which is an important part, I think, of puzzle games, but it's also, an important part of any sort of game where you're spending a lot of time, getting to places that are hard to get to. You know, if you don't want to just, your players get to something really hard, and they'll say, like, okay, they've gotten through it really hard. Don't make them go through it every time they want to pass through the area. It's just, a pain. But if you do want to keep that area difficult for some reason, or there's more that you want to do with the challenges in that area, then the shortcut's the next thing to do, which is just, give them a way to, get back to where they are quickly so that they can do the things that they want. Once again, I really am, particularly focused on, are the players bored or not? And, this also includes, as a GM perspective, am I bored doing this? Because if I'm bored, the players are going to be bored. There's our sneaky little area here. Let's see here. Go here and turn the lights on. Yeah, definitely move it along. I think that's even, more important for a role-playing game, or, like anything you're doing that's focused on the fiction. I'm being liver blind again. I'm being blind here again. Here, aren't I? There it is. There we go. Because is there another light here? There is. I'll just go through and light all the things. Is there one here? No, I don't think so, but hey. Here we are to the symbol room. Finally we come to the part of, one of the 2 or 3 actual puzzles in the game. It's just, is actually solving this room. I mean, you're figuring out, how do I turn, how do I, open up this thing? How do I turn on this lever? But really when it comes to, they're all just really big, all small steps in a really big puzzles. And this is really one of the 2 big ones is, how do I get through here? And this is where you actually start putting through the clues and everything. So let's go ahead and do that here. Okay, so the first one is the fish. And this is the one that's always the hardest to figure out. Because the first sound ball, the sound ball with number 1 is in Gen's office. It doesn't make any real noise except it's scraping across the desk, which I've seen a lot of people mistake as, okay, that's that scraping noise. That means that's the sound of whatever the animal is, and it's really no. It's just it doesn't make a sound. And you have to sort of infer which creature it is based off of where it's found, and where the description says it's found. The whole, oh, it was in the middle of the water. It's like, okay, well, middle of the water, and then found by the fishing area, and when you're looking at the when you're in the watching room. You look at the little the little viewer thing that shows the bay, and where Gen says where he first saw it. You're looking around, it's like, oh, there's lots of fish. It's in the water, it's fish here, and there's also a sort of outline one place that actually looks like this particular fish. First time I played this, I didn't get most of those. I just kind of came down on, I can't figure out a sound, what things won't make sound. And I tried several times until I figured out it was this one. So, okie doke, and then number 2. Number 2 is our friend the beetle. Okay, and now we find our friend frog. The Yitram. That's the actual name of the frog, the Yitram, which is Marty backwards. Okay, and then the Sunner. Here we go. And then, of course, everyone's favorite, the Work. And this is a great effect here, just visually. Because you get this, this all kind of weird blah, 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 blah thing going. Sort of a Stargate effect. And you can see down the sides here, down the sides, those channels on the left and right. The water is going down those channels, which I think is a nice little touch. But I think this is also a really good sort of reward for solving the puzzle. Especially in Riven, there's been so many. There's been so many things that you've done that you can't really tell what it does. I flip this lever over here. Well, I mean, it turned steam on for something over on the other island, or I'm not sure what this means. There's so many different things going on. It's really nice to have an incredibly definite effect that you can go, gosh darn it, I got it right. And not only is it definite, it's cool looking. I know I should be clicking through here, but let's just take a look at the fly through here. We've got the big tree thing in the middle, and it's pretty much surrounded all around by cliffs. And so that's a really, really, really small area of the age that we see here. I mean, there's so many possibilities for what a GM could put beyond those cliffs. Remember that an age is an entire universe. It's not just a little section thing. It's not just a little island. Age isn't just this island or a group of islands or an isolated part of a place. It's the entire universe, and it's huge. I mean, and it's still even just an entire planet. So there's an entire rest of the planet out there that you can do stuff with. And maybe the Age Writer has thought about that, or maybe the Age Writer hasn't. And so it might be in the same sort of theme of what we find here, or it may be a completely different sort of world out there. And who's to say that if you get to a place where there's some sort of ability to get off planet, then you have all those planets to work with. So yeah, I mean, there's just so much space. Okay, so we've linked in the linking points here, and we'll go towards the obvious thing here. Look, this is an obvious thing. I should walk towards it. So, there you go. I think one thing also is, this is a good example of, for Unwritten, is, technically that's violence. You come in there and you get, swapped in the back of in the neck with a, some sort of little blow dart. Killing me. Whoa. And, yeah, hey, how's it going? Killing you, Pope, I get it. You get swapped in the back of the head with a blow dart. Or about in the neck or whatever. And you go unconscious. I mean, that's violence. And we've talked about, several times about, how Unwritten's really not about violence. That doesn't mean that there is no violence. It really is focused on the idea that Unwritten is about solving things without violence. It's about, putting your mind to things, thoughtful responses, that sort of thing. Okie dokie, here we go. Here we are in our little room. You can see out there. See, we're in the cave. We're in the central tree thingy. There's a cave wall there, and you can see down there, that's where we came from. Go here. Something looks like a bed. This is the sort of thing that, I guess I'm getting a lot into tangents, but one of the things that, as a age writer, that people that seems to be a common thing that comes up is that where things in the age provide benefits or resources that the people need, and sometimes that's very, very distinct and very, very specific. This thing here is sort of a bench sort of thing, and it's part of the of this structure, which is sort of natural. This is a cave here, but some parts of it have been carved out, and some parts of it are just naturally useful. It's a bubble. It's a bubble of space inside this big rock or possibly, plant tree thingy. So, some writers make the age do things for you. You know, well, I want a place, we're going to, we're going to settle large groups of people. So, maybe there's something, that, the trees, right, the trees such that they'll provide shelter, or there are lots of caves where people can live in, or, that sort of thing. That's a weird sort of concept that's relatively unique to the Mist universe. Yeah. Junie, says it looks like a place looks like a wasp's nest from the outside. And that's certainly possible. That would beg the question though, if that's what it actually comes from, is where are the wasps? But as a GM, you're always looking at some of those questions and options, like where are, if it looks like a wasp's nest, where are the wasps? But I think a very unique thing in the Mist universe is, you were afraid that you run into them, Junie? Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see that. But it's the fact that, writing ages allows you to mold an environment very direct, on a very basic level, to what you want it to be. And so you have those options of, having, isn't it, great, like, in the Strange Seeds game, they're underground, but, the plants have this sort of like air system that they pull down, and so it means that the area has air. So that's, that's a way that makes that area down there livable and, essentially, not very doesn't limit the amount of things that you can do as a game down there. So those, because age writing allows both the option of creating incredibly improbable things that are useful, both inadvertently and by design, you can create environments that have incredibly useful things for your players, or create, have, incredibly implausible but specific things that they have to get around. Okay, yep. See, here's the rest of, what's in the hives. How much of what we see here did they actually, was written by Catherine? How much have they made? As a GM, when you make things, you expect that your players are going to start asking questions, and so you have to think about them. You don't have, now here's the issue. Here's the trick. You don't necessarily have to solve them, but you do need to think about them. And sometimes the players will come up with an idea, and because the players will be like, well, wonder why is it like this? Like, they'll try this and they'll try that. It's like, well, maybe it's, looks like a wasp's nest. So you're just like, oh, okay. Why not make it a wasp's nest then? I'm really afraid that I'd run into the wasps. Well, then that's a golden opportunity to go, you know what? Yep, you're going to want to run into those wasps. Players come up with all sorts of great ideas that you can steal. So, definitely go ahead and steal. Okay. Here's the person that comes in.
Katarina e now da saya palo. Yapa ay manay yelepo. Miotisay. Bekaretere wirape yelo kene falapo. Tisay. Why te fulupe?
Interesting thing, the Rivenese language here is as far as I can tell, was actually, according to what people at Cyan have said, it was actually a language from that some of the extras, at least one of the extras knew, and just sort of, they used it. He or she taught the other people, some basic phrases and stuff like that, and that's what they used in here. At one point, being the language and and linguistics nerd that I am, I think I found out which language they're using. Um, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, of course, now that I'm here, but I'd have to look it up again. But you'll find some places online that suggest that, I mean, it's supposed to be some sort of language from New Guinea, from Papua New Guinea, which you think would narrow it down, except that Papua New Guinea is that little area, Papua New Guinea, has the highest linguistic density of anywhere on the world, in the sense that that little area of Papua New Guinea has thousands of distinct languages, literally thousands, in that small area, and you know, you know, dozens of different language families. So they're not even all connected to one another. So saying it's a language in Papua New Guinea is like saying, oh yeah, it's just one of the beans, in this truck full of beans. Um, so a couple places have suggested it's Tokpisin, but I've looked at it and it just makes no sense whatsoever that it's that. Um, but I did some searching based off of some of the things that I heard there, and I did sort of narrow it down. But it's not like a language like Dini, in the sense of it's a constructed language. But it's just one of the things where I decided to use something that was already well known. Often when it happens is when it comes to languages like that, either someone makes a language, which seems to be more of a modern sort of thing, or in like places like Star Wars, they just they will use some obscure language that someone nearby knows. Um, there's a lot of you know there are examples of people understanding what the Ewoks are saying in Return of the Jedi, because they use I think some sort of African language, Southern African language. Well, nowadays people they'll do things like they make Dothraki and High Valyrian for Game of Thrones. Um, uh, the TV show Defiance had a bunch. I'm a big fan of David Peterson, who is a conlanger. He's the conlanger who created the languages in Game of Thrones. And he's a friend of mine, actually. We're both members of the Language Creation Society. So I actually knew David before the whole HBO thing. Not very much, but I knew him. And he's done a ton of languages since then. And Doctor Strange, Thor: The Dark World. There was Dominion on the TV show Dominion. Did some of the stuff in Penny Dreadful. I could go on and on. Emerald City, Into the Badlands. So I sort of fangirl a little bit at him on a regular basis. And he also did language work for the new Dune movie. So there. But yeah. Yeah, I probably shouldn't go too deeply. I think the English stuff is interesting too, Junie, obviously. I shouldn't go too deeply into it, because then I won't talk about anything else for the next hour or so. Just because I get, conlangs are my thing. Like I have 2 or 3 main sort of things that are I'm really focused on. Mist is one of them. Conlangs is another one. So, which is why I like the Indian language, because it's a bit of both. Okie doke. So that's Atris's journal. There's our trap book, which, by the way, one of the endings that you can get is if you go in here. Just some of the moiety find you in here and leave you pretty much. So okay, so and here's Catherine's. Which it's nice handwriting, but still is really hard to read. Hey, okay, yeah, here's a little note about, you can find my prison, you will still need the combination to rescue me. Again, keeps it in his office. So this is the place where it tells you the detail about, how do you get the combination to get Catherine out of her prison. But is that the last bit? Yeah, it's the last bit, I think. Okay. And now we get our person again.
Sira po.
Sierra po.
Ibuko mo buko wisipo.
Isipo.
Na vene. Tapo mo revene beno.
That's about as far as I go.
Now, Katerina ne. Wisifa polo ya sepe yai.
Okie doke. Okie doke. Here we go back. Like I said, I mean, Junie's saying that it sounds like it's related to Italian. Italian has a type of language that it's called there's a certain prosody to it. I'm pretty sure Italian not syllable timed, syllable timed, yeah, syllable timed. I think Romance languages tend to be. That's why they sound sort of. It's because of how they, there's this sort of rhythm of which syllables are said. English is a different type, the other type of language, which is stress timed, which is we tend to stretch out and squish sounds so that our points of stress are about the same time. So for native speakers of stress time languages, all syllable time languages sort of sound similar because they all sound like, but okay, here we go. Okay, so I've done one of the important things in the game, which is show up and tag. Okie doke. Let's see here. Wrong direction. What I really need to do next is I need to get the power on for the domes. I need to do that from the globe, from the big dome. I think I need to get to the back of it. So I'll go back down here to the map. Oh, wrong way. I'll back to the map island. No, not that one. Okie doke. Oh, where are you? There you It's just too fun. Okey-doke. And let's see which window I want to go. I think I want to go this way. Get into our elevator. Ta-da. This one, I think. We'll take it. So we've only got like a few people in chat. We've got Junie, and Janev, or these are the ones at least that stream is showing me. Who, if there's anybody else, go ahead and sound off. And I know that I'm talking a lot about Unwritten, but I mean, I guess I should probably ask, what sort of gaming experiences people have? You know, are you the Myst fan that have never really gotten into gaming? Are you a gaming fan that also loves Myst? That sort of stuff. Let me know, and we can talk about it. Okay, I'm coming here because I don't think I actually ever wrote down the code. There we go. Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually wrote this down, so I probably should. Okay, the first one is that 6, and then that's 2 and 5, that's 7, and that's 5 and 4, 9. And that is 15, and that is 20. Oh, pretty round number. So you say you've played Myst and Riven, but not a big video game player in general. Terrible hand-eye coordination. Yeah, I mean there's definitely a lot of focus on hand-eye coordination in video games. Unless it's a very specific sort of puzzle game, and even then they'll start trying to do a little bit of that for you. So Judy, are you okay with like 3D games and stuff like that? Like I know Ellery, my wife, who likes, who's somewhat of a video game person, but she gets really motion sick on the 3D video games. So, um, So she doesn't get into a lot of video games because of that, and she's also not a huge, high twitch, hand-eye coordination person when it comes to gaming. Um, she's much, she's just very crafty, so she does things with her hands a lot, but it's not the fast sort of thing. Um, so yeah, you get down to her with the house. Yeah, the 3D elements. I mean, the 3D stuff has definitely allowed games to do a lot more, and it is unfortunate that that's made it less accessible for lots of people um, who might otherwise really like the games, except for the fact that they have to deal with these 3D environments. Um, I know that there are a few games that Ellery really, really wants to play, but she can't because they make her physically ill. Um, I often end up, playing the game, kind of navigating for her while she watches. But, okay, I am musical. I can use my hands, but can't do any games that need fast responses. I'm not coordinated for pushing button combos, for example. How are you at the sort of the rhythm games, like, Guitar Hero or that sort of thing? Well, I'm just curious, as a musical person, I thought you might be, good at those. I've heard that people who do the best at those in music are drummers because it's pretty much just, specifically rhythm. There's no real, harmony or melody or anything involved. It's just, thump, 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 thump. But, as for RPGs, I mean, I think, like tabletop role-playing games, I think they're a unique medium in that they are a game where what you're doing is where the game is actually interacting with the fiction directly. Like, like here we are in Riven, and we're going around, we're reading things, we're poking at things, but the gameplay really is the puzzles. You've got things that you have to figure out how to get past. You have to figure, there are puzzles to solve, and you can't get further until you figure out, how this works, or how do I turn this on, or how do I turn that off, or etc. Um, so I mean, you can have a good puzzle game without very much story or background. The Witness, for instance, is a really good example of that. Uh, there's not really any story to The Witness. Um, there's just more sort of an atmosphere. Um, you can find some things that sort of suggest at some story elements, but really it's just it's sort of just a big environment for the puzzles to sit in, and the puzzles are much more um, you know specific puzzles than um, than say like in Riven or such. I've forgotten I left that up. Gosh darn it. I think in the last session, last um, episode, last stream, I went there and went, I left that up and did the same thing. Okie doke. So I need to go back to Village Island. All right. Yeah, I think so. See, this is the part where you get to watch me go in circles. But yeah, there's not much story that you're interacting with. I mean, the different endings. It's like, okay, you can kind of make a choice there and you get different endings. Um, but it's really, I mean, it's not, but this sort of game, while Cyan excels at making environments with stories in them. It's not, how you play the game. And I think it's really that, tabletop role-playing games are really the only genre that allows you to directly interact with the fiction as the intent of the game. And then you can change it. In some games you have choices, that can have effects on things. In some games, the choices really don't mean much. In other ones, they mean a lot, but they're limited. They're the choices defined by the developers. But in a role-playing, in a tabletop game, it is very explicitly, you and the story, interacting in the parameters of the interaction or anything you can particularly imagine. Okay. Yeah. I need to get to the village. Okay. Through this way? Right there. Now that just takes me to the top. That's it. I need to make the other side. So yeah, I think that and I think that when you look at Uru was sort of trying to provide that sort of interaction with the fiction on a large scale. As well as the sort of the sort of explorational and puzzle options as well. I have a rather strong opinion that Uru needed game masters. They need to be run by game masters more than just software developers. But I probably should save the depths of those discussions for when I'm actually playing Uru. Otherwise, I won't have anything to talk about when I get there. So, Junie, what sort of stories and universes, settings, and such, would you want to interact with if you were a player of a tabletop game? Is it just is there genres that you like, or are there particular properties that would be really cool? I am a fan of X. That'd be cool to do that. Where am I going? So, okay, so you're enjoying Strange Seeds. You're like a lifelong Tolkien and Narnia fan. So it puts you in the fantasy camp. Don't like battles and gore at all. Yeah. It's pretty easy for games, gore and battle are easy things to do because they're sort of they're visceral and you get responses. And there are a lot of tabletop role-playing games that are very battle focused, very combat focused. That is partially because of sort of the origins of tabletop role-playing games as a genre of activity. They started off as war games. Yeah, you're saying and they're play acting at being badass, and that's not your thing. Um, yeah, the power trip, the power fantasy is definitely sort of one of the driving forces in a lot of role-playing games. And unfortunately, I mean, and there's nothing with wanting to do that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do that. It's not. Hello, Ellery. Ellery is on here, and this is my lovely wife, Ellery, um, who is actually in the next room. So I don't know if she can hear me through the wall or not, but yeah. Yeah, Strange Seeds and Unwritten in general is very predicated on the ideas of collaboration. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of tabletop role-playing games haven't had that as a core. I mean, there's this idea of there is some idea of collaboration of here are the characters, here's the party, um, but there's this sort of default feeling that it's the game master against the players. Um, because often the game master is giving providing the antagonists, but I don't think that's how a good game necessarily runs. Even if that is the tenet of even if the game is combat focused and there is a lot of power fantasy and a lot of I get to beat the things up. Um, you're still kind of doing cool stuff. That's the whole point. Whether you think cool stuff is you know I beat up orcs and I'm a badass because I beat up orcs. I mean, it's still kind of all about like that's awesome. I just think there could be some very different ideas about what and that's awesome means. Okie doke. Let's get back to the main dough. Um, there are a lot of role-playing games that deal with things that are not battle-focused. It's just that, like not only, once again, is it easy, what is it, where it came from? And that's the sort of thing, fantasies that people want to do is it's very easy to envision using something to simulate combat. It's like, because, I mean, you're obviously not going to hit each other. So you need something that says, okay, well, and obviously, my character may be, Conan the Barbarian, but I am not. And so there's that sort of implicit things like, my character can do the violent things that I can't or wouldn't. And so we need some way of making sure it does that. It gets a lot harder to think about your character doing things that are not, it's harder to envision things like, how do you play a character who is smarter than you? How do you play a character who is suaver? Who is a better, political, person? Here we see Gen, who is currently in the little viewing room and has been watching you. And he takes off. One of the things I do like about Riven is the implication that things keep changing. That there are things that are continuing to happen as things move along. Gen has been through here. And that's why, people will go, well, why is that door closed? Last time I came through it, it was open. It's like, well, it's because Gen came through and he closed it behind him. So I think there's a certain level of dynamism to that I enjoy. Okay, here we are back at this. Okay. Do I have the thing turned on to this? Yeah. remember, do I have to go around to all this other stuff? Okay, that's turned. Okay, good. That's we're on. I forget what turns that on. I forget. I totally forget. But yeah, I think collaboration is definitely something that's underutilized in a lot of games, and a lot of gaming in general. There are a lot of really kind of cool. It's a new kind of a newer genre of um, what's the word I'm looking for? Collaborative tabletop. I mean, collaborative board games. Where you're not playing against each other, but you're playing towards a goal together. So I don't know if you have ever played those, but now that might be of interest to you. One based on birds that's collaborative. That's interesting. I have not heard about that one, or at least I don't remember it. You build an ecological system. That's pretty awesome. No problem. I'll just be here, filling with levers and such. La, 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 la. There's always got to be like one roller coaster theme in this game. Okay, now I gotta get out, and I've gotta go to the work. Come on. I want to go this way. Or do I want to go this way? I want to go that way. Yeah, I totally want to go this way. Hey. We go up here. So. Oh. Go all the way around. Tells the map islands that have spiky things. I'm not sure why spikes go with maps, but they do. Okey-doke. And here we go. And we'll go this way. Let's go down. Wingspan. Okay, so Wingspan board game. It's about making ecosystems. That's pretty awesome. I'm gonna have to look into that. The one that I would think about when I think of collaborative games is the Dresden Files collaborative card game. Because like it says it in the name right there, collaborative, which I have, and I've yet to play it. Not had enough, board game stuff in my recent history, unfortunately. I'll definitely have to check Winspeed on it. Yes, I said Dresden Files. I'm a big Dresden Files fan. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, the Dresden Files collectible card game based on the novels. If you like urban fantasy, the Dresden Files books are great. There's a lot of them at this point because they're writing for a bit. But great urban fantasy, really great characters. There's definitely a character arc. So the first couple, the main character is a little less likable than he becomes later on. But still pretty good. It's not, it's fantasy and it's urban fantasy, but it's, not, angsty like a lot of vampire stuff is. So, I wanted to go over here. Okay, there's an article in Slate about the woman who created Wingspan. I will have to take a look at that. That sounds pretty awesome. I am always interested in interesting games. I mean, by definition, I wouldn't be interested in them if they weren't interesting. But yeah, definitely, I love hearing about new games. Okay, I forget. What does this go to? Oh, that's the thing down there. Yeah. I forget how to do that. That's down there. That's there. I forget how to raise that. Bah. Oh, I should have hit the button. think I'm being liver blind again. Let's see here. Yeah. My brain. Okay. Do do do. Yeah, the buttons in this one are all in weird places. Okay. Okay. Hey, fast forward. No, that way. I want to be on the other side. Since I start doing things fast, that's when I start making the goofy mistakes. Do do do. Apropos of nothing, but the other game I've been playing a lot lately, which is a good game for people who like exploration, is No Man's Sky. It's a sort of science fiction, space opera-y sort of game based around, exploring different planets. And unfortunately, a 3D game, so if you can't do the 3D stuff, it's, a bit difficult. It also has a lot of survival elements in the sense that you have to collect materials and such. You have to collect materials and resources in order to not only just survive but also do other things. But there are a lot of different planets that you just kind of show up on and just look around. There's a lot of redundancy, unfortunately, in the sense of and there's only so many different variations. But there are some really interesting planets to find. I actually have a whole idea about, sort of doing a sort of No Man's Sky Unwritten crossing. So I was thinking about like writing little short stories or something, little blog posts or something based off that. I don't know, maybe I'll do this for the Patreon, who knows? Or maybe I'll just put it out there. I would probably write them a little less, formally in the sense of just like, like a journal sort of thing. But, journals have a long and, noble history in our fandom. So, I mean, I want the other one. There we go. So I don't know, maybe a series of blog posts or something. And one thing that No Man's Sky is good for is definitely for, definitely for having, team pictures. So that's one thing that No Man's Sky shares with Myst is that the visuals are just really awesome. And sometimes it's like, oh, it's sort of, oh, look, another planet that's desert or something like that. Or look, we found a planet that's uninhabitable and it's rocks, just rocks. But there are some ones that are just amazing looking. Okay, let's see if I remembered any of this properly. We'll see. Aha. And here we, hit, another one of the actual puzzles of the game, the marble puzzle. Being the, one of the, considered one of the most difficult puzzles in the entire game, because of how much you know, how many different things that you have to kind of put together to get to it. Um, and yeah, this is the one that usually people kind of like get towards the end, and it's just there's so many different things you have to put together to figure it out. And it's all just to turn the power on. I mean, which I guess is sort of just a classic sort of Denis thing. Um, looks at the power. I need to turn the power on. Um, but okay, let's see here. One thing that I've noticed that is that one of the problems in Riven is how often it's easy to miss important things. That you know that this is right here, back here, one space back. Um, where you have to actually turn once you get all the marbles in place, um, turn it back on. And that's always something that always people you have to turn it down, and there's a little button under it that you have to hit, and it takes a long time for people to figure that out. You know, as clever and as genius many parts of Riven are, this is sort of the place where um, you know Riven does fall down is how to what to do here. How to there's always this little parts like, okay, well, I can't get it to work. And if you look around, um, if you look around a bit, you'll find that online you will see that this is there's a lot of like posts on different places that are like oh, I thought I had it right, but things aren't happening. Um, so yeah, this is the place where people get sort of caught. Do, 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 do. Yeah, okay. Can I actually do the thing? I wrote this all down. Where did I put it? Um, God, this is what I get for skipping a few things that I don't have any of my stuff. Where did I put it all? Okie doke. Okay, so we've got the outlines, which are here, which show all the apps, and then the colors, and blue goes there. Green is only like right over here. Wait, no, no, no. Okay, it's over there. I think green, but red goes there. I think we don't even use the orange. Okay, see here. I think I'm gonna get these backwards, but let's see here. And we'll see if I actually got that right. I did not. I did get those backwards. Oh, wait, it's not yellow, it's orange. Okay. I will get things right eventually. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. See if that's it, or if I still have a couple things swapped. Yep, still have a couple things swapped. I think I've got purple and the yellow swapped, and the orange swapped. Okay, let me double check my notes. Have to admit, I do like any game I have to write stuff down for. There we go. That sounded impressive. Okie doke. Now I get to do the actual, 2/3, 3/4 through the whole missed game, and here I actually get to go find a linking book to use. That's the one thing that always struck me about Riven is how little linking books we actually use. It's all in just like almost all in like one age. Um, you know, it falls in these sort of like, what about that? Let's see which. Is there one where I can do that? No, I'd have to get that put down. So okay, I'll just go over here. No, not that one. There. Do, 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 do. In a hurry, so I use the escape button. I am impatient, which is what my wife tells me all the time. You just run through there. Why are you just running through there? Because I'm an impatient person. I want to get to the good stuff. So. Say yeah, exactly. Just sometimes you're ready to move along. I mean, that's kind of, I think, the weird thing is that when we're doing the game when you're moving around places and such, you really want that sense of space. This is over here, this is over there. But that always takes you to a point where it's just like, well, I know I need to go all the way across, 2 islands to get there. It's gonna take for okay, I don't think there's really a way around that while maintaining the, sort of, importance of the feeling of physical space. What am I doing? Here we go. And, nope. Sorry, I started talking. This happens when I drive. As I'm talking, I kind of reflexively do what I'm supposed to, just move along when I really wanted to do this. Okie doke. Put my code, which I just saw earlier. See if I can get this right. I think this is what Yes. I did, in fact, read my numbers correctly. There's an interesting divide among players who play this game who manage to, I mean, you figure out the numbers enough so that you can figure this out. But then there's like those players who figure out just enough so they figure out these numbers, and then there are the players who figure out the entire Denny numbering system and remember it. To the point where, like, when they're getting, you watch them play later games, and they're like, when they see a Denny number, they're like, oh my god, that's a 1, that's 5. I knew that. I'm among that. So once again, looking at age design here, decide I think I want to have, weird shaped, mountains, and you decide, okay, I'll put that there, and then, you can decide if you want to or need to, explain why, or it's just, the way it is. And we transport here. Into the cage. And we call again. Speaking of lever blindness, a lot of people miss that button when I've watched them in part of language nerdery, right? You're correct. It's really Clark Day Judy. The man himself.
I apologize for the cage. I'm afraid this situation has often required of me a more primitive code of conduct than I might otherwise have chosen. I am Gen. I assume you've heard of me.
Yep.
Yes. Well, I suspect you have acquired some false information of who I am now.
Unlikely.
Not that my son would have lied to you about me. No, not Atris. It's just that, well, I'm sure he believes me to still be the depraved father I once was. Yes. I even tried to kill him once. God, if I had accomplished that, who knows what I would have become. A great father indeed, who tries to murder his own son.
Don't worry,
Thankfully,
Atris isn't a good father.
On age 5, a prison of my own creation. No books, no precious inks, no ages to link to, nothing but my own foolish ambitions. That was 30 years ago. 30 years, 30 lifetimes, what does it matter? No sentence could be too harsh for the man I was. But I have changed.
Believe me, I'd like to sell you a car.
To be sure, the deeds of my past can never be completely atoned for, but my mission was an honorable one. I'm sorry, this is all a bit awkward. It's been a long time since I've attempted to persuade anyone of my intentions. Most of the people here have already made their minds up about me one way or another. I myself do not trust the words of most men, so I don't expect you to believe me. In the end, though, you may discover that I do have more than mere words to offer. Atris's choice of punishment has been hard on the people of Riven, and many have suffered because of it. The island has been steadily decaying for years, but according to my most recent measurements, it appears that The Fifth Age has entered its final days. Unless the villagers can be relocated soon, the island will collapse entirely and everyone will perish. It has taken me a long time to do it, but it appears that finally I'll be able to make some substantial amends to my past transgressions, especially in... Well, I'm afraid I've had some trouble with Catherine and the moiety. In any society, there will always be a small percentage of the population with rebellious tendencies.
It's up to this point
Before
where you
Catherine
kind of like,
appeared, the
I could almost
moiety,
believe
as
him.
they
Then he
call
goes down this
themselves,
path. They're like, uh-oh, no, nope.
had been relatively harmless. I mean, the natives here are a fairly violent people by nature, but I'd almost come to accept their presence. It seemed inevitable under the circumstances. Upon Catherine's return, however, their violence intensified considerably. It seems she's become some sort of religious savior to them. And as far as I can tell, she's come to believe this herself. So I've had no alternative. I had to separate her from her people. I must admit, though, that my concerns were not entirely for her safety alone. The actions of Catherine and the moiety have put my own life at risk on numerous occasions. Consequently, the lives of all the people here. Therefore, I must ask you to refrain from any attempt to free her. Although I'm sure Atris desires it. Indeed, he must desire it with all his heart. But he is completely unaware of her recent state.
Oh wait, over here.
Which brings me to the point of all of this. The linking book you brought with you. You're very fortunate to have recovered it. If I may.
Oh, wait. Yeah, damn it.
Thank you.
I have to admit, amongst the entire, the entire set of games, this is really one of the best actors the games have.
Perhaps it would be best if you went through first.
Here is, the moment of truth, which most people, sit down and think for a while, but I'm going to do because I know what happens. Usually some people die at this point because they refuse to, and then he comes back and shoots them, and they go back to their save. Yep, perfectly fine in here. Perfectly fine. Come on in. The water's fine. I like the fact that, again, it's like, I'm going to go talk to my son Atris. I'm going to speak to him with this deadly weapon that I've just prepared for myself. Okay, that's the linking book that is not working. We have the trap book. Of course, there is actually the option of, going back and an alternate ending when you go back into the book and You know, again, it's like, wow, I'm not sure why you did that. Thanks though. Okay, and now we need to go down here. And we're back to, you know, all the different things you can do with Gen's office.
Kianenatsu? Shima? Shorate. Mata neta. Tagamem. San botegan shem. Fasi.
Do all the things. Da 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 da. We, you know, confirm. Again, it's a slime ball. Is that 5 sounds? Yep, that was fine. Gen is one messed up dude, definitely, Larry. He's definitely one of those who just, you know, he for a few minutes he can put on that sort of, you know, like, you know, I am, you know, civilized and sophisticated, and then you just gotta let him go a little bit longer, and then you can start to see the, the cracks. Like, okay, he's a little, you know, Grandpa, you're saying things I don't like. You know, can't we just get back to Thanksgiving dinner? You know, sort of things. I just want to make sure I got that right. Since it's the end of the, almost in the, it's been 2 hours, I'm gonna probably go a bit quick here and just finish up. Let me go. Okay, here we go. Oh, I forgot to turn the power on. Duh. There's some good sounds there. Always gotta turn the power on. It's one of the important rules of Myst games. I think one of the interesting implications of Riven is the fact that, you know, Gen comes up with some other way to make his books work. Some non-standard way of making his books work. And we're given such a, you know, a strict view of how linking books are supposed to work. You know, the Denis linking books work this way, and this, you know, they have to have this paper and this ink, and then, but, you know, the Myst games show us that the Denis rules of linking are not the only way of doing things. Okay, let's go up and talk to her. Let's talk to her first and then release her.
Yafe Adika. You made it.
I did. I'm here.
But how'd you get past?
I'm that good.
You have to get me out of here.
If Gen gets the linking book to Dunny, he'll kill Atris.
Don't worry about that.
Gen's people may be watching us. The combination to the elevator is somewhere in Gen's office. Be careful. Go then. If you won't help me, then I have nothing more to say.
Yeah, totally not going to help you. Okay. Oh, I meant to only skip the thing, but it's all one video, so it skipped the whole animation and then discussion of him and everything. Discussion with Catherine and everything. Let's see, did it actually? Yep. Okay. Yeah, it did go through. Catherine has come down, broken the lock, and oh, yeah, I know this. That was easier. Again, like much of the rest of the game, never can make anything simple or easy. I got very simple numbers. That's always nice. Yes, I mean, the Denis are amazing engineers and mechanologists and all sorts of things, and they just don't, like, ever make anything easy. There's no such thing as, easy or experience. It's just, it doesn't happen. Okay, which is the main one? I forget which one's the main one. Is this the main one? Let's see, is that the map? That's the map one. No, that's not. No, the L is the map one. Okay. Yeah, that's the map. That's a crater. Yes, I'm pretty sure this is it. But yeah, from the Unwritten perspective, if you ever want to describe anything in the D, just add a couple of steps where there's mechanical things, like doing things that they don't necessarily need to be doing. And, that will give you the D flavor. Something that, it seems like it would work, but it seems like, well, it seems like a lot. That's how the Denis did it. If it was good enough for the Denis, oh yeah, lots of stairs, don't forget stairs, yeah. But, if it's good enough for the Denis, it's good enough for everybody else. Okie doke. Also, once again, I like the things here that gives you the, it takes away a couple of things so that you have other, that might take you down, false ways. It just kind of leads you directly to the ending here. hear that we're getting towards the climax because the ominous music has started. Never underestimate the suggestion of musical cues as a power for your game. You know, it's like, get into the room, and it's like, oh, it's like, you get into the dark room. Now cue the ominous music, and all your players are like, uh-oh, boss battle coming, whatever, da da da. Okay, where did I put the numbers on this again? Okay, 21244. Let's make sure that there. Crack. That was that one piece of equipment that was keeping the entire age together. Thank you for signaling me by breaking the universe.
There isn't much time. Where's Catherine? Where's the book?
Atris!
I don't...
The villagers are safely in the Rebel Age. I thank you.
As do I. You've accomplished more than I could have hoped for. You've given me back my life. The path home is now clear for all of us.
Funny thing is, he never actually says what the path home is for you.
This is where our paths must part. Perhaps we'll meet again someday. You know where to find me.
People who don't understand what's going on exactly here always freak out right here.
My friend.
Wait, how do I get out? I know, Rand, such a baby Rand, Like, oh my gosh, where does this yawning chasm into nothingness gonna lead to? New Mexico. Yeah.
Now I understand. Endings and beginnings are within the fissure. That riven cleft of stars that acts as both a wall and a bridge. And though I am unable to understand how, the very flow of stars that brought my mistbook into worthy hands, I am sure served as a safe passage home for my friend.
I hope.
The age of Riven is closed forever, but the people of Riven are free. And now I am at rest, understanding that in books and ages and life, the ending can never truly be written.
Ta-da! I think of all the games, honestly, this actually has, I think, the best ending. Just because, Tony, there's Tony, I don't know why I said that, but, a lot of Cyan games sort of have anticlimactic endings. But this one has a definite sort of, there's like a thing happens and it's exciting, and there's a denouement that sort of implies that things have gotten better. So yeah, I think, as actual stories go, I think, Riven is probably the best story, and it has the best characters that you actually interact with. A lot of Cyan games aren't about the story and the characters, they're about the environmental narrative, though. So it's interesting that some of their best games don't have a lot of explicit story or a lot of interaction with characters. They're just, Rand and the people he chooses are just experts at putting things into the environment that feel like they mean things and that they communicate things. When we get to abduction, we'll really take a look at that, because I think abduction is their sort. Everybody talks about Riven being sort of their magnum opus, and I do tend to agree. But I think the best example of their ability to impart narrative in an environment is actually abduction. I think abduction's ending, unfortunately, takes it out of the top spot. But yeah. Alright, so we have finished Riven finally, and hopefully now with this new slight change to the schedule, we can get back to doing the streams on a more regular basis, with less interruptions. So we will have the 1 week, I think it's let me make sure, double check again. Yes, 28th, which we will not be having a stream. But thank you for joining me, and for people who watch this on YouTube, thanks for watching. Whenever I get it up there. And next week we will start Exile, which honestly is my favorite of the games to play. Riven, I think, is a better piece of art, but I enjoy actually going through Exile the most of any of the games. So, and it has some of the best payoffs of the entire series as well, in my not so humble opinion. So, thanks, Junie. Thanks, Ellery. Thanks for everybody else who came by, didn't say anything. Thanks for the people who watch this later. Shura.